So if you've clicked on this video, I'm presuming that you're thinking about buying a pressure canner. But you're wondering, is that the right decision for you? You know, you may be a hunter and you want to can up your venison or your other wild game, or maybe you have a large garden and want to can up all your vegetables, or maybe you want to extend your food pantry, or what a lot of us like is that you want to have meals in a jar that are convenient, so you can just go down, pull one off a shelf, and make a meal for your family within 15 minutes. And it's a homemade meal. So that's one of the reasons having a pressure canner is great. Now, some of you might be concerned about safety. You might have heard from, your great Aunt Beulah or your grandma that, oh my, you gotta be careful. I know of somebody whose pressure canner blew up in their kitchen and their kitchen went on fire. Well, in the old days, pressure canners weren't what they are now. And believe me, now they have a lot of safety precautions, and it's very doubtful that would ever happen to you. Then again, maybe you're feeling fearful because you don't have anyone to teach you. You don't know of anyone that pressure cans. Now, believe me, you can start with reading your manual when you buy a pressure canner. It really does give you excellent step-by-step instructions, but also there's all of YouTube out there, and there are some great videos on how to pressure can. In fact, I have one too. It is called Pressure Canner for Beginners. So you can click on that little eye at the corner of the video here if you're interested in that. But either way, there's a lot out there, and you can always read books too, or even contact your local cooperative extension. But believe me, it's really not that hard. It's just step by step. You do what you have to do, and you'll have no problem at all. And you may be confused, what's the difference between water bath canning and pressure canning? Well, water bath I think of as like a full immersion bath, right? Your jars are in your canner and there's water an inch above, and the way the heat is transferred to your jars is through the boiling water. So it can't get any hotter than the boiling point. But using a pressure canner, I call it the foot bath method, because generally you only have a couple inches of water in your canner and then your jars. But you have a very tight sealing lid, and it creates steam, and that steam can get a lot hotter than your water bath canner. And you need that hot steam to transfer that heat to the jars so your meat and veggies are canned safely. Now you might be wondering, what's the difference between a pressure canner and a pressure cooker? And you need to make that distinction. The Instant Pot here is a pressure cooker, and it's great for making meals quickly, but it is not something that you can your meat, your fish, your low acid fruit, or your vegetables in. That's not what it's made for, because it can't keep a continuous heat, and it goes hotter quicker and it cools quicker. So it's not what you need. You need a pressure canner, which has very thick walls and can retain the heat for a long period of time, and it's just made for that, okay? Well, you can pressure cook in your pressure canner too, but I don't, but I shouldn't say you can't cook in it, you can. But most of us, we use this for our pressure canning. I do have a word of caution here. The meat that you can in your pressure canner may not have the same taste that you're used to. If you think about it, when you buy that stew, in that can at the store and warm it up, meat it's kind of tasteless, really. Well, that's because it was at such high temperatures, so it would be safe to can. So some meat changes more than others. My favorite is pork here. I have barbecued pork. I'm going to have it tonight for dinner, and to me it tastes exactly the same. Now, I don't think that hamburger or ground beef tastes very good canned. The only way I use it is if I'm canning it in a soup or stew. But by itself, I think it's pretty tasteless, and the texture is a bit different. But people have different preferences for that. But I just wanted to let you know it might not taste the same as you're used to, which is one of the reasons that we try to put spices and broth in with our meat so it can help it retain its taste. Now you're also going to need to assess your cooking platform. You know, do you have a gas cooktop, electric, propane, whatever. Gas brings the pressure canner up to heat faster, and when you turn it off, the heat stops. Where there's electrical, that's still heat in the coil. But either one is fine. You will hear cautions if you have a glass cooktop, because especially like this one, I mean, this American canner is heavy. Trust me on that. And because of its heft, it could damage your cooktop. So I used my canner with my cooktop for many, many years and never had a problem. But you should be aware of that. Now some people also can with their propane cook stoves outside, and that is fine as long as you can have a continuous heat. And you want to make sure you have enough fuel handy too when you're doing that. But assess what you're going to use first. Now, you kind of made up your mind, you want to go for it, but what canner should you buy? Should you buy a Presto? You can get a 23 quart canner for $73, I believe, at Walmart right now. Another brand, or do you want to go for what I consider the premium, and that is an all-American canner? You know, this one I think it was about $280, and it's probably about the same capacity as that Presto one that I just mentioned. So you can see the price difference. But there are differences between the two, but let me tell you, I think either of them does a fantastic job. So really buy the pressure cooker that you can afford. Do remember that it's an investment though. If you buy this American pressure canner, I don't know if you can see. Do you see how heavy gauge this is? I mean, this is made in the good old USA in Wisconsin. It's been made there since the 1930s, and I mean, it's a workhorse. It's something that you can have for your entire lifetime and then pass down to your children and maybe their children. But do know that it is heavier than a regular one. It really is. So you might want to check it out first. But again, either one will do the work. Don't worry about that. Now, if you've been doing any reading, you might come across gasket and gasket-less pressure cookers. And you think, hey, what does that mean? Well, that's how it's sealed. If you think of my Instant Pot here, it has this little silicone or rubber little ring here, and that is what seals the Instant Pot. Now, my American canner here has no seal. The way the seal is, it's metal on metal. The good thing about this is you never have to replace it. You do have to oil it occasionally so it doesn't get stuck. If you get one that has a gasket, I recommend buying an additional gasket when you get it. That way you have it on hand in case you need to replace one. Now you also might ask, well, what size should I get? And you know what? That is totally up to you. A lot of it depends on your family size, how much you want to can at once. And do remember, the bigger the canner, the heavier it's going to be. But this canner, I think, can do 8 quarts and 14 pints, I think. I'm not quite sure. This works out just great for my family. But look at the different sizes and think, are you mainly going to do quarts? Because there are some that you can do 2 quarts high. Or are you going to do pints? Do a little of your own research on how your family eats and what you think you need to determine the correct size for you. So I hope you found this video helpful. These are the hints I know that I looked into before I bought my pressure canner. And like I said, my channel, Potpourri, is around to help you with pressure canning. You can always email me for any questions or put down the comments below. I would be glad to help you. And there are many other channels on YouTube that are also very, very helpful in this regard. So I hope you're convinced you're going to buy a pressure canner. And if so, I'll see you in the next video when I explain pressure canning for beginners. Thanks. And as always, please subscribe, share that knowledge, and thumbs up if you like this video.